for
I am.
director's report?
Yep. Alright. Director's report for May 2025. We had one curbside pickup, 300 total patrons. For students, we had 10 classes, 16 visits with 354 students. Storytime attendees for the month, we had 32 adults, 46 children, for a total amount of 78, and we had 3 storytime events in May. For Dungeons and Dragons, we had 2 events with a total of 25 attendees. Volunteers, we had 2 with 5 visits and a total of 9.5 hours for the month. This does include 1 senior for the town's work-off program. Not Just Knitting had 2 events with 8 attendees. Senior Book Club had 1 attendee. Book Club, that's brand new, had 15 attendees. Boy Scout visits, we had 3 with 21 attendees. Other meetings, we had 2 events with a total of 9 attendees. New cards, we had 4 total, which includes 2 e-cards. For Facebook and Instagram, for our Facebook page reach, we had 2,427. Total page likes is 913. Our page followers is 1,058. And our Facebook page visits was 635. For Instagram, our page reach was 40. Followers is 196 with profile visits of 5. Our most popular Facebook posts was the new book club with 1,770, and the second one was Storytime Canceled with 918. We had 28 Wi-Fi connections with, for website visits, we had 541. Our library numbers, items circulated regardless of location was 1,656. All items circulated at Hubbardston regardless of ownership was 1,727. We had 108 requested holds. Number of patrons registered at Hubbardston was 1,450. Total number of items to borrow is 11,383. For Overdrive, our monthly checkouts for May was 797. And our holds on Overdrive, we had 158 e-audio, 241 ebooks for a total of 399 holds. The library was closed on Saturday, May 24th, and on Monday, May 26th, for the Memorial Day holiday weekend. The Senior Center Art Show was held in the library basement on Saturday, May 10th. I did not count the number of attendees, but there was a constant stream of visitors checking out the artwork created by their neighbors. We are looking forward to further collaborations with the Senior Center. Tricia and I met with Julie from the Gardner CAC this month about using the library basement as a pop-up pantry for outreach to the people of Hubbardston. Julie likes the space and will work with Tricia to get the pantry up and running. Tricia is planning on moving her programming supplies into the old janitor closet in the basement. The Senior Book Club met on Wednesday, May 28th and discussed Killers of the Flower Moon, the Osage Murders, and the Birth of the FBI by David Grand. The next book club meeting will be held on June 25th at 11 a.m. at the Senior Center in the Slade Building at 7 Main Street, where they will discuss The Stars Are Fire by Anita Shreve. The May display in the adult and children's room celebrated Asian Pacific Islander Month, while the children's room also had a Memorial Day display. The June displays for both the adult reading room and the children's reading room will celebrate LGBTQIA+ Pride Month. Respectfully submitted by Christine Barbero. The finances still have not been updated because I don't have a BVA that's most recent, because we have a new accountant who is gathering all this information, but we should have something for year end for that. And the last page of the report was the number of pages that were visited on our website. It looks like it's really small writing, I'm very sorry. The event the main page is the first page that gets the most hits, followed by event calendar, hours and directions, and the 5K library road race are the ones that get hit the most, so.
Great, thank you. Any questions about the library director's report?
I have 2 questions. One is the financial data is up to date as of when? Sorry.
2/28/25.
Okay. And, was there another book club that started?
Yes. Tricia has started an adult book club,
Okay.
and she is up and running, and we had to pull in more chairs,
Great.
so.
If I wasn't busy, I would have been there. I peeked in on my way to another, and I was very impressed. And they seem like they had a great time, so.
Yep, we had, the next, is June 23rd, and then we already picked the book for July, which all just came in, and I had to request more holds because even more people reached out than the initial 15, so as of right now, my spreadsheet counts 24.
So it started in May
Mm-hmm.
with 24 people.
What is the book?
Well, there were 15 attendees at the initial
Initial
meeting, it is
meeting.
now grown up to 24.
24 more people reached out, they couldn't make the meeting. The July book is The Berry Pickers, Manicures, and I'm getting blueberries from Sawyer's Farm, because it's about the Maine blueberry, it's like a, themes, I love themes, they make me happy.
All right, has everyone had an opportunity to review the May 1st, 2025 meeting minutes?
Yes.
Are there any changes or corrections to them?
Not to the May first. I'd make a motion to approve the May 1st minutes.
Can I have a second?
Second.
So, Chris second, all in favor? So, 600. Alright.
I did have a question with regards to the minutes though.
Mm-hmm.
The April 29th, the policy subcommittee is not on the agenda.
Oh.
Can we add that to minutes?
Yes.
So we have the May 8th minutes, but also like out of order, but the
Yeah, they weren't ready in
April
time.
29th.
Yeah.
So, okay, so April 29th wasn't, okay, yep, sorry, I missed those.
I think
So
I sent them out, but
they
I'm
were-
I'm
not-
sure you
they
sent them
were
out, I think
attached.
I think I just sent them, I think I was just looking May as opposed to June. So, how about we approve them at the next month's meeting, just so we have time to post them and for people to review them.
And then the one question I had on those, of how it read, of like the meeting ended at 8:59, I didn't know if we wanted to include power outage or if it's not
Oh.
necessary.
Uh-huh. Okay, but people don't review the minutes before we, I'm looking it up right now, but what you just said about they're not on the agenda, they're not linked on the agenda, are they?
They're linked on the, I did not put the April 29th meeting minutes on this agenda because I forgot about that meeting. And so it wasn't, we didn't approve them in May because it was, we went
was like
April
day
29th to May
before.
1st, so we didn't have time to do the meeting minutes.
Right.
So it's a set of meeting minutes we have yet to approve.
Okay, so when you post it to the town, that link to the minutes is in there, is what you're saying?
No, when I post it to town, I don't put any links in. to the
Right, so
agenda.
it's okay, but you just said, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something, cause you said we're not gonna look at it tonight because it has to be posted.
Oh, no, I'm just
Oh.
saying, I wanted to give people an opportunity to review them.
Us to,
Yes,
okay.
not necessarily
I'm
to be
sorry, I
posted.
misunderstood.
Sorry, yeah, no, my bad, just, yeah.
So you had so we shouldn't look at that right now, or we should?
Did anybody else review the April 29th subcommittee minutes?
I probably
Or
did
have
when I
access?
got them, but I don't remember them now. I could look them up.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I was happy with all the minutes. The only question I had was whether or not we wanted to indicate the power outage,
I
but,
see.
and then if we were going to include the April 29th, but I'm happy to move the April 29th to our July
I think
agenda
it's-
if we want to, and that gives trustees a chance to review it.
That, I think that would probably be
Yeah,
best.
best.
That makes sense. But do you
So-
want me to add about the power outage?
That's why I'm asking if we
I
should
could send them out
indicate it
again, yeah.
at the end.
Was it unique to the library or was it?
No, it was broader. It was broader.
I mean, it could just
And
be
we were
mentioned
about to
that
end
the
anyways.
meeting ended early due to a power outage. We could just add a sentence.
But otherwise, I thought they looked great as initial feedback.
Okay.
And then, is there any discussion on the May 8th? Before I make a motion, if there's no discussion, I have to make a motion on the May 8th minutes, right?
And the May 8th meeting was about the scholarships, so it was the extra meeting we had about the scholarships. Any changes to the meeting minutes? Okay, can I have a motion?
I made a motion, I think Chris seconded.
Okay, all in favor? Alright, 600. I just wanted to touch base about the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners and the funding cuts that they've experienced and the trickle-down effect that it's having to our library. In that it looks like several databases are going to be canceled. I don't know if this is good or bad. The databases that are being canceled don't have a lot of usage, so it, maybe you might wanna think about if they ever come back. I don't know what other funding cuts are coming down the pike for it, but we did lose access to quite a few Gale databases, Pearson prep test preps coming July 1st. So just knowing that, you know, I don't know if there's an email we wanna send out to the town, letting them know about the database cuts, also as a way to educate them about the fact that IMLS feels like it's up here, right? But then not understanding that it trickles down to MBLC and then it trickles down to local libraries.
Yep.
Don't we have something on the website?
I did I posted about how the things that could be affected, but it was more of a general statement.
Yeah.
Letting them know that we are being affected by database cuts, but I didn't specify which databases were being cut.
I missed the databases that are being cut. Could you say them?
So there's probably about 20 databases. So so kind of like educational databases that are being cut. So for example, like the Boston Globe Article Archive, Britannica, Moderna, Gale Academic One File Select. So many of the Gale databases are being cut. Heritage Quest Online, which is like an ancestry kind of database.
Are these standalone library funded and library fed databases, or are they just a link to like the Boston Globe?
Full text.
They're databases that, it's not just a link to the Boston Globe. These are like databases that have a set of content in them that are
And that
available to
content
libraries.
is fed by the library.
It's fed by the publisher.
Well, I know
Yeah,
that,
right,
but I
right.
mean, if the library wasn't active, the database would not exist. Probably.
I'm not.
Not necessarily.
I'm not sure if that's quite right.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out what we're losing.
All many libraries subscribe, like they pay to subscribe to these databases. You know, it's a choice, they choose which ones to subscribe to, but here in Massachusetts, we're fortunate because the state paid the subscription, so all the libraries get to take advantage of that. So otherwise, if we wanted it, we would have to pay for it ourselves.
And so what are we losing? The state support?
The state support, yeah.
Because it got cut off at the Fed level?
Chris,
Yes.
didn't you send out a spreadsheet of who used what databases?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Connie asked me for that and I sent it to her, and do I remember the numbers? No.
Is
Well,
actually
I
linked
just-
in the spread,
you know,
it's in the
I kind of,
agenda.
you know,
Is-
I looked at it, but I was just thinking maybe some of that information, if you're gonna send out an email.
Yeah, it's
be-
pretty
We did-
small.
We
so-
did have from, I think it was May 28th, with like Britannica, Capstone, Gale, ProQuest, and the transparent languages that was
It's-
sent in.
Yeah, it's linked in the agenda, you'll be able to see the numbers, the numbers are not that high, so.
Yeah, that
The
was my impression,
databases
but still,
utilized by
You know,
patrons.
Oh, in the
somebody
email,
wanted
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Well, interestingly enough, I think that as people became more aware of the databases, the usage did go up this
Mhm.
most recent year. You know, comparatively speaking. So it's something that students can use to research papers, to see, you know, if they have a project and they have to pull out information on papers that have been written about a particular product, or they wanna learn about history, or they wanna learn about math, or genealogy. These are access points so that they can go and see peer-reviewed papers that are being offered, so.
Well, you don't have to be too specific about, 6 people did this, 10 people did that.
Yeah, they
Just
didn't
say-
give me that information because they really work hard to make it anonymous that, yes, it's being accessed, but we're not gonna tell you who
Right.
accessed it.
Right. But I was just thinking more of the fact that people actually did use it,
Yes.
so
Yep.
I don't think how many
It
used
may have
is-
affected the school district as well.
Well, I would think that it would expect the school district, I mean, there's opportunities that high schools, elementary schools, schools could be using these resources to,
Well, maybe the
Do
middle high
report.
school, but not the
Yeah.
elementaries.
Not the
elementaries wouldn't be doing
but the
that.
homeschool group is like this little nuclear group that sometimes gets forgotten about, and I bet they use the databases quite frequently.
We may want to highlight what is still also
Yes,
available and make
exactly.
aware of what is available and to take a look and show interest while it is still available.
Yes. And what is still available are good, like Gale Academic One File is a pretty solid multidisciplinary database. Opposing Viewpoints is also a good resource if you're trying to do point counterpoint. There's still 3 Britannicas, so there's still 3 encyclopedias available. And I'm not sure what Pebble Go is. I don't know if that's
What is?
Pebble Go.
I don't know that one.
I'm not sure I'm not familiar with that one, but I do think, I don't know if there's value in, posting on our website, sending out through the town, just to educate about the impacts of federal funding and impacts on local levels.
I think it's a good idea.
I think it's a good idea. I would recommend being aware of.
And also stressing to them, Libby was not on the cutting block, and that is also
There would be a
through,
mutiny.
yeah,
If Libby was
I
on
think
the
that's funded through
cutting block,
CW
there would
Mars,
be a
and
mutiny.
I think that's funded through MBLC too, so what's being kept, but also just to be aware,
Yeah.
things happen.
I know that I've been asked, how did it affect, that came up at the knitting group and everybody wanted to know what's being affected, so I wouldn't say I discussed specifics like this, but just the fact that people should be aware that, this is what you voted for and it will affect you in some way, even though, you
And
may not
looking
realize
at it, MBLC and MLS was reduced from 2.8 million to 1.17 million. So over 50%, almost 60% decrease in funding is what happened.
Is that, I'm sorry, those numbers that you're reading, is that in,
That's in the handout that the MBLC put out.
okay,
The statewide database is FY 26. I think we are fortunate that there has been some movement in the Massachusetts legislature to put some funding back into the budget for libraries. But it looked like 3 of the 4 items that were requested or bills were denied and only 1 passed. So I think that's what I saw.
I did write a personal letter to Mr. Durant, but I didn't hear anything back, but I'm bringing it up because I don't know if, as the trustees, would we want to write, because Alicia was asking me about it,
Yeah.
can we talk about doing that? I don't know, I mean, it seems like it might be okay for this cycle, but,
Yeah, I'm not sure when the budget for the state ends, I'm looking for, I think I was looking, I think you sent it to me.
I could be wrong, but I feel like the state budget process, it's a continual ongoing. I felt like things ramped up in the fall, October. I know that there are really big meetings that take place in January financially, and that they kind of prepare and that they follow a very similar fiscal to the town. But I could be very wrong.
I'm sure Nate, actually met Senator Durant I'm sure he's mentioned it, but I apparently was not paying that close attention. He was here for Memorial Day, and to say that he got swamped by constituents wanting to talk to him was putting it mildly. So, but
Is this,
The fiscal year is
Senator
July
Duran?
first to
Mhm.
June 30th for
I just didn't hear the beginning of what you
Yep.
said.
his liaison is here quite often in the senior center. And same thing with Donnie
Berthium.
Berthium.
Yep.
Donna, she's next door sometimes too, so she's always a good resource to reach out to.
So anyway, do we want to make a posting and then draft a letter to our legislatures?
I recommend it.
Okay.
Who gets to do the work?
Who would like to draft the letter? And the email post, in the email, or at least a website post, and maybe I can even go out through the town list or.
I could share the letter I said, we can edit it or
Yep.
whatever.
So,
Would we wanna form like a smaller subgroup for that?
yeah,
I mean, some of the things that are mentioned in the handout would be powerful,
mhm,
so we wouldn't have to reinvent that.
right. So, he was interested in working on that. I'm happy to, but I'm also happy to like, so, Chris, you know, I just wanna hammer it out,
I'll work on
and Tom,
Okay, sure.
and then Chris.
it. You wanna
Once you
me
get that
draft?
information to me, I'll put it on the website,
And then
Facebook,
if I think
Instagram.
of things,
Okay.
can I share them with?
Is the new website
Yeah, I mean,
has it been launched?
Because I'm just
Has not
feeling
been launched.
swamped.
I'm working with
Yeah.
him to address
Like it.
Would you
the
mind sharing your
font
letter so I can
size,
see it too?
the
'Cause I think I might.
margins, and to make sure that it is
88.
searchable. I
Who's
have
our
that,
attorney?
and accessible. That's one of the things that they
We're
mentioned on their
ready to,
website, is
right?
they do work on
Yeah,
keeping it
we
as
should probably do.
ADA accessible.
Okay, so, just regarding the website on a slight different note, like in April of 2026, there's new federal regulations coming out related to digital accessibility.
Yep,
So they're on board with that?
Yes.
They're on it, okay.
yes,
Good.
that's why they get paid the big bucks,
Yes, just wanna make sure, cause I know like that's what our university's
working on,
right now.
got it.
so trustees, this is what I wrote, trustees can write personal letters and a subcommittee will draft a letter to our representatives for the board and post it on the library website, is that what you said?
Mhm.
We would put the letter on the
Either, yeah,
website?
it's probably the letter and then maybe something else like more patron
A summary.
targeted, you know, so,
Okay.
Do you have enough people working on
I think so.
that? I'm following that.
If we put it on a Google Doc, we can all, you know, I don't know, is that deliberation probably?
I have faith in the three of you coming together, and I'm happy to share ideas. I know I had to cancel
we
it with
can-
you. It's just kind of crazy.
We can discuss it openly at our next meeting.
Yeah.
Yes,
Just
so,
wait till
well,
then.
so I guess the question
Yeah.
is, do you want us to send this out before our next meeting, and if so, are you authorized for us?
I would authorize you guys. I feel like
To do it without like
Yes.
necessarily running up by you?
yes, I would authorize you guys. I think we're all on the same page and voice and similarity, and I have confidence.
I'm just, I feel like Connie, if other people wanna do it, that's fine, I can, I mean, Chris.
Well, if you've already been through that with your personal,
I mean, I could just
Letter.
send that to you and you can, you got, I mean, I don't have to be the one to work on it, but I'm willing to do it. But I think the two pieces are very important because, I mean, we want people to use these databases,
Mhm.
the ones that will be left and,
Right.
you know, maybe that would encourage them to
Exactly.
seek more.
Yes.
Cause they're kind of, I mean, they're essential, but they're harder to find than a Google search, you know, so it does require a little bit of education, I think, to.
And there's, you know, yes, exactly. I mean, there could even be some marketing we could do with that, like, hey, come learn how to search opposing viewpoints. And do like a short like workshop on that or something like that, just to kind of promote it, or know, I don't know if there's opportunities like when you're working with the schools, like when they come into the library, if they have like an assignment where they might have to, like I think at sixth grade you might be doing like a,
They're not here
They're
anymore.
not there anymore.
They're up
It's
to middle
kindergarten,
school.
kindergarten to fifth.
okay.
K through 5 and
So
I
maybe
don't-
in fifth grade they might be like doing like a small like debate or
They're-
something like that.
The fifth grade is there such a short time, really.
Okay.
I can check with Kim though.
Yeah, I don't know, it'd just be nice to find ways to get people using the databases so that there's a more compelling argument when they get cut of, as the impact, cause right now, those numbers are
Is
small.
the database, are the databases the only subject of this letter?
Are they what?
The only subject of this letter?
I don't,
I mean, I think it's open for discussion, those are the things that have been actively been cut, so if you just wanna focus on like what has been a direct impact on the library, I think that might be a compelling argument, because we don't know what else is coming down the pike.
I would
you know.
focus it on that, and then I don't think that we're limited to how many times we reach out.
Yeah.
So when and if
Squeaky wheel
other
gets the grease.
instances in which we should reach out, I think it's,
Letter a week.
I mean, the initial request for people to say contact their representatives was because they were worried about, you know, how much money they were gonna get and what they were gonna have to cut. So I mentioned other thing, like you mentioned Libby and the CWMRs, all these things that we completely rely on, it was possible that they might be cut. So the letters can, I think, talk about those just to say how important they are. But luckily, I guess they're not deciding not to have to cut those things. So I think it's not just the databases.
Yeah. We'll work it.
Alright, well, tough times in libraries, so. Friends of the Library, there was a meeting a few weeks ago in
Okay,
May.
not
You were there.
Okay, as long as nothing happened since then. I started working on a potential, just like a poster, because I think that, obviously I don't think it's gonna be ready by Saturday. But apparently Staples will do, something, bigger than you can print at home for like $20. It wasn't really a request for money that I sent out, it was just like, who should really be doing this? So on your new website, you've got that great graphic image of just the the steeple of the library thing in red and blue, and I thought
Yep.
that should be the head. And then I kinda got stuck because I didn't know what to say. But in terms of what it should look like, I thought, maybe, with a table that you were gonna man, and potentially Whitney, the outgoing people among us, that could be something that could draw people's attention and just say, something like, Friends Group is forming, please sign up below. Without, give us your ideas, help the library or whatever. That's not like copyrighted or anything, we couldn't use.
that was made by Laura Foley, who was a previous library trustee, and
Okay.
made it for the library.
So that
So
could be,
you can use it.
cause it would be recognizable, I mean, I think
Yeah.
we need something to recognize.
So on Sunday, heads up, town fair is not Saturday, it is Sunday.
It's Sunday, oh.
It's Sunday, Mother Nature is throwing another one of her hissy fits. I'm manning the table for both the library and the town, so if you guys give me a sign-up sheet for Friends of the Library, I'll promote it,
Okay,
cause I will be there all day.
Wait, the
So-
field day is Sunday?
It's Sunday.
No, it's not field day,
No, it's not
the
field
fair.
day, the Hubbardson
the fair. Sorry, the fair.
Yep, the Hubbardson Fair is gonna be on
Yeah.
Sunday due to,
Did that just get
Is there
changed?
another rainy
literally got a
Saturday?
text.
Really? I
This
was gonna-
evening.
I was gonna look to see if they were doing
Yeah,
a
well,
rain
I think
day.
it's not even that it's gonna rain on Saturday, it's gonna be field is gonna be soaked
Hmm.
and saturated, so let's give it a chance to dry out, I think. So it is gonna be on Sunday, so if you give me a sign-up sheet, I will promote the snot out of it.
So.
So I will be there at the town and library table all day.
So
That
I
works better
think
for me.
if I contact Whitney,
Yeah.
maybe, cause she might have, more of the form of what we wanna say to people with that little logo, and I'll go to Staples, I get it printed up, and then on Sunday I'll be in the trail ride, so I won't be at the.
That's okay, if you actually send me what you've got, I will print it at Staples, cause I've got like $50 in rewards, so we won't have to pay for it.
Oh, okay, alright, so,
Cause I return all the ink
tomorrow-
from the library, and when I return all the ink from the library, you get points on your
Hey,
things, and you
alright.
don't have to pay for printing.
Okay, but that was my thought, was to make that a beacon of, get people's attention to, you know,
And-
get
Well, I mean, we still have the list of the email people that, initially were
Mhm.
like, yeah, we wanna be part of this. So you also have that group that you could, you know, if you want, you know, once you
Okay.
get this flyer set up and everything and printed, you can send that out to them.
Yeah,
To be
okay.
like, hey, you know,
Yeah.
we're trying to pull this together and these are the things that we're doing.
Okay, I was, okay, cause I thought it was Saturday, so, you know, we
Yeah.
should move a little faster. Okay, so tomorrow I'll contact Whitney, cause she must have a list,
I would assume, did you give her the list?
The list has been shared with everybody who
Okay.
was at those meetings, yes, so
Okay.
there's.
It's in here
So
somewhere.
just remember that as the library director, I'm not part of the Friends, I'm
Right.
just like the liaison for
Right,
them, so.
and I'm not either yet, so, what did I file it under? I just didn't get very far with, you know, what we really wanted to grab people to
I can
say.
email that to you if you want, the logo.
Yeah, okay, it's in here somewhere, but please.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is make sure, like, if you're creating the sign and you want it to be a certain size,
Mm-hmm.
I would probably create it to that size, just to ensure things don't get pixelated. Like, so say if you put it on an 8.5 by 11 and you put
Okay.
the icon on, but you wanna blow it up to like 2 feet by 3 feet, like, it might get pixelated.
Okay,
Yeah,
So
so
I
just-
use Canva. It's a design, I do it for all the stuff, and you can like format, you can pick the template to be that size, so that when you upload it, when I upload it to Staples, Staples will automatically upload that size into that poster.
okay, you're not around tomorrow, right, 'cause the library's closed.
I don't have a life outside of here, so,
Yeah.
no, I'm around tomorrow.
Okay, and maybe let's pick a time,
Okay, we'll
We
talk
can
after,
just-
and
because
I
you're-
can meet you at the library.
yeah, with time being
You already
such
have
of
the
the
logo, right?
essence.
Oh, I do have the logo.
So-
It's in my computer.
Yeah, okay, cause I
And
hadn't
that's a
even
minute.
really thought about scaling, I just went for the smallest thing, cause I figured I was paying for this, you know, so I picked the $20 size. But if we don't have to, if we're not limited by that, then, you know, yeah, so why don't we meet tomorrow at your convenience,
Okay.
well, more or less, we'll figure something out and get something
Happy
set.
to help.
Because it would be a shame to miss the day of the fair, and then we can use it again
At field
at
day.
town meeting, you know, use it.
Even at the 5K too.
5K,
Yeah.
we table at open house every year
Yeah.
or two, and it's a great time to grab those parents, cause this is the school's library,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
And just so at that meeting where I think Tom and Alicia and Chris and I were with Whitney and Donna. Whitney will be kind of like the chair, and then Donna is, I think, treasurer for right now. And then their plan is to bring a meeting together with everybody who's expressed interest to then start working on next steps forward. And I believe Donna was also reaching out to the attorney who was on vacation, to figure out the 501c3 stuff, you know, so.
Fantastic.
So,
With the town attorney?
nope,
No.
You okay?
Oh.
with the attorney in Barry, who
Okay.
gave me, so.
Okay.
Something like Messier or
Ma-
Messier,
Mayless.
Mayless.
Ann, I think, Mayless, MEILUS, I believe.
Okay.
Because she's the one who did the 501c for the senior center,
Okay,
so.
thanks.
So there's progress being made, and modest, you know,
Well, yeah. Slowly.
we're not cheetahs, so.
Herd of
Sorry.
turtles.
This got mentioned a little bit in the library director's report, but just a quick update on the pop-up food pantry.
Go,
Go.
go. usually at the basement of the library. We picked the old town clerk's office because we could really flow people with the counter kind of still being there, whatever. But that is right now has kind of like the best flow. But we can be flexible as things change. Yay, town meeting. So what they'll do everything. They'll bring everything with them. We'll just have tables set up for them. People will fill out forms, but it's not that they have to be registered with them. It's how they have the demographics and they have the data to then apply for grants and stuff like that. Kind of like I do at story time. They always see me counting kids and counting adults, and it's pretty much just so I have numbers. They don't need proof of income or anything like that. So they'll come fresh fruits, vegetables, items such as that.
Bakery goods and canned goods.
Canned goods, dry goods, that kind of thing. And then desserts, they'll have some sweet treats to pick from as well. And families, seniors, anyone in the community that needs it, it's kind of just come as you are, take what you need, and up you go. And then I will pair with her if she can give me like a little bit of a heads up of what's coming. I was thinking about putting together little recipe cards to put out with the foods to give ideas of what people can use for that. I'm gonna get the forms that she gave me. I'm gonna make copies. We'll have them available in the library for pickup, especially during the summer months when school lunch and school breakfast go away. Could be, for our families in the community that rely on those meals for their children, as well as Hub House. I'm gonna bring the forms to Hub House to have the director hand those out as well, and then I'll bring some over to the senior center.
I missed the forms, I'm sorry.
The forms are just to be filled out. She's gonna have their name, how many people are in the house, how many people they'll be feeding through the pop-up pantry, and that's just data that they collect for grants and stuff, and that's stress that, we're not selling your information, we're not keeping track, we're not, someone asked about immigration status, that doesn't matter. It's just primarily so that they can collect that data for grants, making sure that they have enough for everybody who attends. Won't need freezer space or anything like that. They bring their own coolers. She already has all of her Board of Health stuff through Gardner, so Kathy Hansgate and I have been talking, so when she gets me all of that, I'll get it to Kathy, so Board of Health approval is signed, sealed, and delivered.
I love it. Thank you guys.
Yeah. Is there an estimated date or like a
Not
goal?
quite yet. I'm gonna reach out to her next week. She knew that this week was crazy busy, especially with the amount of articles that were on the town warrant. So she knew that she was gonna hear from me this week, so I'm gonna follow up with her next week and bring her in and talk to her, so.
And they don't need volunteers?
They bring all their own volunteers.
That's my understanding
But I told her anytime she needed help we have a pretty strong community that's willing to roll up their sleeves and help, so just to let me know. And that's that.
What about the space in that lower level? You already have the art exhibit there. Is it working okay?
It's working okay,
Clean
and
enough
I've got great news. All those filing cabinets that are downstairs in the basement are gonna magically 1, 2, 3 disappear. I have a shred-it truck coming in July, and the files that we spot checked everything to make sure that we can be put in to have destroyed to the state. We got the approval, so they are getting emptied. They're being put on a shredder truck and they're being destroyed. So those filing cabinets, once they're emptied, the ones that aren't emptied are being moved to their new home, and those will all be cleaned out. And the shredded truck will also be for town residents to come and have their documents shredded and destroyed as well.
Have the street files all been scanned?
Yep. We did not pay $100,000 to the Laserfish operation. I sat there with Mel, Nate, and I, all of our computers. We were literally pulling files, checking to make sure that everything was on Laserfish. Yes, okay. We marked it off. Filing cabinet done. There are a few filing cabinets back there that unfortunately we'll have to move to 48 Gardner Road,
There's a
and
few
they'll have to be
empties.
scanned in. But
There's a few empties.
and there's a few empties down there too. I mean, there's documents that why we held on to them, I have no idea. They don't even belong to us. They belong to the Registry of Deeds. So I had to call the deeds office and be like, do you have these? Yes, okay, I'm getting rid of them then. So it's been a fun project, but then it'll be empty and you'll have more space.
When?
The shredder truck's coming in July, and then I need to Travis and I are gonna talk about maybe just doing a huge metal recycling dumpster run with the filing cabinets. If not, we can put them on municipal bid. To sell them, but they'll probably sit on there forever, cause those filing cabinets are older than I am, so.
Offer it for 50 cents.
I don't think we can do that. I know.
Where can I put some of the empties?
The empty filing cabinets?
Yeah,
or
for
the-
instance, in the little break room on the way to the electrical panel, there's empty 2-drawer and an empty 4-drawer.
So the Board of Health is taking one of them.
They're both empty.
Yeah, the Board of Health wants to take one of them for upstairs for us to house, emergency management and Board of Health, like, gloves, masks,
Where can
that
I
kind of thing.
slide them?
I'm catching your drift. We can talk about this after. But yeah, no, we're gonna get rid of most of them, so we'll free up more space. Yeah,
So, this fall,
Hmm.
what I'm hearing is by this fall,
this
things
fall,
will be.
I'm hoping to goodness gracious that everything is out of there that does not, I mean, I can't move a vault quite yet. I don't think I'm Superwoman.
Are you gonna?
I told the designers of 48 Gardner Road, there's only 2 requests that we have is make a space for a vault and a kitchen.
Well, this vault is, if you look at the construction, it's not a portable vault.
No, it is not.
It's built into the blocks,
Yep,
and it has a vault door and a dehumidifier.
yep,
And that made it a vault,
right.
but that's not something you could pick up and move. I would think that the library may have a need for a dehumidified space.
Correct, because some of our older collections
So I
probably
would-
need to be stored.
Hesitate to take it apart and try to move it.
No, I don't think we'd move it. I think we would build a new one
Good,
down at 48.
good.
So, like, you know, cells and fire engine bay and everything else it needs.
Well, I think this
Easy.
kind of transitions us into our next item, which was the, yesterday Wendy Frontiero came to the library and she did a site visit to do a historical architectural assessment of the library. So she kind of worked through the basement, the second floor, to the first floor, just to kind of start making recommendations on what should stay and what should not stay, or what we want to maintain. I asked her to have the report to us by June 30th, since money isn't available until July 1st. I would like us to hold off on doing any kind of like scheduling of renovations until we get her report, only because one thing she did say to me was that we might wanna get a second quote about whether or not the hardwoods could be restored, because she seemed to think they could be. Yay.
The hardwoods?
The hardwood floors.
Oh.
You know, and so she's like, we might wanna get a second quote, or a second opinion on whether or not they can be.
Yes.
So I'd like to see her report and see what she's recommending, so that we just don't come in and just start taking stuff out without, or, you know,
Or covering stuff we don't need.
recovering things we don't need to. So, hopefully on that soon, sorry, but, that ties into the idea that we now have $40,000 to spend on the renovation to the basement, so.
Thank you, Town of Hubbardston.
Thank you, Town of Hubbardston, for that, so.
Can I just say something? Maybe we should start calling it the first floor and not saying basement, because basement
Yeah.
just sounds like,
It's got a kind of weird connotation.
yeah.
Someone asked me the other day about it. So when the CPC funds, we did like a town hall here at the senior center for before town meeting, and the biggest question was, why are you guys going for CPC funds? We were told that you guys were gonna go for grants when the municipal offices moved out of the basement. And I got to sit up straight in my chair and say, well, due to the federal temperature, those grants that I was so excited to apply for no longer exist. And they were like, oh. So like, this is the direct trickle down that we're gonna see that, yeah, there are some grants that I can still go for, but a lot of the grants that I was super excited to apply for no longer exist or have been clawed back, because I know there's two
Yes.
libraries that had already started the work, are halfway through the work, and their grant got clawed back. So now what they're gonna do, Tower Hill Botanical Gardens, they
Yeah.
put a huge post out there that they've literally had to cancel everything. So that's why I said, this is why we need to now go for CPC funds, because that funding that we were going to rely on no longer exists. But with having CPC funds now, I have funds to say, to some grants that are requiring matching, I can say, oh, no, we have the funds, we can now apply for those grants, so.
I think that's important to, like, I feel like we've said this many times, is that even though the offices are gone, like, many grants we apply for are matching grants. So the town still has to fund the library and put money towards the library. So, I mean, I feel like we've said that many times.
Yeah.
But, you know, I guess not just the building, the offices are gone now, you know.
Yeah, and then I explained to them, yeah, the offices are gone, but our biggest hurdle, especially for an MBLC grant, is that the Historical Society is still upstairs. I may have said, and the Historical Society already wrote me a letter to back me up saying, right now we're using this just storage because we can't really access the third floor anyways, cause there's no second form of egress, and we don't have an elevator. So they're just using it as storage for right now, because it's not a museum. Nobody goes up there except every once in a while they go up and talk amongst themselves, pull some stuff out of the upstairs
Well,
and.
if we can work on the access, I mean, I don't think it's unheard of for libraries to have a museum component, you know, so I don't think it's totally mutually
No,
exclusive, but
No, a lot, didn't Barry have a,
Yes.
They do
Yes,
have a
they do.
museum.
they have a museum upstairs?
And so does
yeah,
Westminster.
yeah, so,
But those are items that have been given to and are in care of the library, which is slightly different.
Yeah.
Right, that, you know, that's not our artifacts, that isn't our collection, it's the Historical Society's collection, so I think that if it,
Let's call it the ground floor.
the ground floor I
Yeah.
like,
First floor, ground floor,
I
just
gave it
basement just sounds like.
the basement will now be referred to as the ground floor.
And
Yeah,
I also,
cute name.
I also just want
Yeah,
to,
just
I guess, state
basement
for the
sounds
record
good. You
that
put money into a basement.
MBLC construction grants are also matching grants.
Yep.
So,
Mhm.
so,
we have fun.
so, and it's almost
They
like
do.
50-50 matching, so it's, so I know people talk about the MBLC a lot, but those are also matching grants.
And they also require
That would be very cool.
involvement of the town in terms of the paperwork and the processing, you know, the library director and
Yep.
or, you know, other
Yes.
people, so that's a big lift too.
I hope we have it.
So ground floor from now on?
Ground floor.
Ground floor.
Or
No
the cute
basement.
name I gave it
No
for the grant.
basement.
I had to name
Is that
it,
Common Core?
Community Core.
Community Core.
That's what I named it for, you had to give it a project name, so I called it Community Core.
Do you wanna give it a quick update on that?
Oh, sure. So, it was the Community One Stop Grant submission time. It's my favorite stress-full time of the year. It always falls right around town meeting, because why not be super busy and do this on top? So one of the projects that we came up with was redoing the basement of the library. So we applied, I pivoted, and I used the underutilized properties program Community One Stop Grant. My grant proposal was to change the entirety of the basement of the library. I mean, got it down to its strong bones and turn it into a completely ADA accessible space for both adult programming, children programming, director's office, and children's room, children's programming, whatever. I mean, everything to ADA accessible flooring, to new windows, abatement, cause we just don't know. I always like to have a contingency plan, so abatement, and so it's been submitted. I submitted it for $540,000, which would cover, I think, quite literally everything. did get to say that we have matching funds for $40,000, so that was exciting. And that we plan on doing work down there, whether they give us the grant or not. So it's been submitted. I got the thumbs up, and we'll hear in October, November.
So you got the thumbs up that they received it.
I got the thumbs up that they received it, and it took me a full day to fill this one out, because boy oh boy did they ask you everything under the sun. But, so yeah.
Yeah,
And
so-
it's called the Community Core, cause apples, the none such apples, so I called it Community Core. 'Cause we really
the
don't.
room is called the community?
No, the project name is called the
Oh.
Community Core, because this old strategic plan that you guys had, it was you guys wanted the Hubbardston Library to be like the center, it's the center of our seal, it's where people in the community come together, so we don't really have a space like this in town, and I'd love to see the library be that space for our town. I mean, the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts are already meeting in a library, we have knitting groups, we have book clubs, we have programming, we can do senior programming where we teach them digital literacy and how to be safe, especially with scams being so rife, ACT and SAT prep classes, give the homeschooling a chance to actually have, I know they do meet in the library sometimes, but actually have a space to meet, and just make something completely ADA accessible so that people can come and go as they please. And I did write an elevator into the grant. Great, because why not?
Is this a state grant?
It is, it's called the Community One Stop, so their whole preface is that it's one application for multiple grants. And you kinda just, as you go along, it actually matches you with the grant that your project aligns with, and then they ask you the questions based on that grant, so. And we apparently are a high-risk community for environmental issues, so. I didn't know that.
What does that mean?
Because we are,
Watershed stuff?
mm-hmm, so if we have heavy precipitation, the 25-year storm kind of model, we're at high risk. Because, well, it is, you can't walk 2 feet in this town and not get your feet wet. So,
And that links to the library, how?
because the library, based on the age of the library and that it's in the center of town, it could be used as a shelter in place.
Oh, okay.
So,
So they're not worried about flooding in the library?
no, they're worried
okay.
about being able
Okay.
to have a space where people could go to,
Gotcha.
and
Okay.
the library,
Yeah.
you know, being
Okay.
one of those spaces, especially once if the basement comes completely ADA accessible. The ground floor, sorry, the ground floor.
This is gonna take a few.
It's gonna take a few.
It's an adjustment,
Call
just so you know.
things, it counts.
No, it does, you're absolutely right.
You know, it sounds better that we're putting
But you know, I grew
$40,000
up
into
next
the
to my neighbor
ground
and she
floor.
was Mrs. McGuire. And as I grew up and I became an adult, she said, "Oh, you can call me Diane." And I said, "Absolutely, Mrs. McGuire." Because, yeah, not going familiar with you today.
So I have copies of the grant, and I sent Connie a copy,
And I
digital
just
copy.
forwarded it to y'all.
Great,
So, and we'll
thank
put
you.
it into the drive, that way there's like a narrative in there, so if we're applying for other grants, there's language we can pull
Yeah.
from, so we don't have to keep screwing, reinventing the wheel, so.
Can I just say, the trustees can also be a support for that kind of stuff too.
This was a hey.
I know, you always have to respond quickly, but I'm just
No,
saying.
this was a surprise, cause Nate told me, 2 weeks before
About that.
he was submitting, and I was like, "You're submitting a project for the library basement?" He's like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Dame, give me." So he's like, "Do you want it?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." So I had 2 weeks to, but you guys had already done most of it with the CPA, so I just piggybacked off of that application, and I've listened to you guys talk about what your ideas are for the basement, and I just kind of went off of that. But so I hope I did you guys all justice.
You did great, thank you so much for taking
Thank
that
you.
on, we appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Tom, do you wanna, since we're talking about basement, do you wanna talk about the?
Ground
floor?
floor.
Ground floor.
Ground floor.
Ground floor. Do you wanna talk about the
Foundation.
demolition
Yeah.
quote that you
We-
got?
We did the outside water control and wall repair, but the inside suffered, last meeting we had, I had an assignment to go off and perhaps talk to Mr. Murray from Murray Masonry, who did the outside. I thought about that, and I thought I'd get somebody local. He's in Salem, and he'll drive back and forth, spend more time than working. So I switched horses, found a guy who was local, who's a hustler. He really is a energy.
What's his name?
His name is Derek, and DW Plastering.
Okay.
I'm sorry, DM Plastering.
Okay.
And then when Tom was downstairs, they scared the crap out of me. I didn't realize anyone was in the basement, on the ground floor.
So anyway, he came in, he looked at the wall we were focusing on is the wall that is buried on the outside.
Mhm.
There's only one. The other one's in a pit, the other one's in the back, the other one's on a driveway. So, he suggested that, in the small room where the refrigerator is, it's not too bad. And he thought from like the ground level down, take it off and put it back on again, right? It's horsehair plaster on glass. And over on the other side, he looked at it and he thought, he didn't think, he found a fair amount of black mold, and therefore it needs the same treatment. Take it off below the grade, bring it down, turn the corner a little bit at the center of the building, and I gotta figure out what to do with all that communication stuff in the cabinet. There's a big wooden cabinet there with,
That's the remnant of the police station.
well, it's 10,000 wires, and I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, the IT CM Geeks said they would come and help me test to see what is live and what can get.
Yeah, I think most of it's dead.
It is. I canceled the phone lines, so it should be dead.
So anyway, he submitted a quote. He was very effective. I called him, showed up the next day, walked through the place, made some notes into his phone, went out to his car, typed up the quote, and I had it before I got walking home. So, he's very responsive compared to almost anybody else I've talked to. $5,500. And makes a lot of dust. He'll tape it off and plastic off and whatnot. But we'll have to talk about the sequence of that. It seems to me, sorry about this voice, I don't know what happened.
Too much karaoke.
It seems to me, it would be an early event, first or second in line here.
We do have remaining funds in the library brick repair, and this was a follow-up to the pointing, correct? And that would
That's
fall
correct.
within the scope, correct?
Well, I'm not sure how anybody else would feel about it. I would agree with you.
We need to look and see if it was
Within the scope.
CIPC funds or if it was CPC funds.
Yeah.
Which ones?
So
And
we're
then
saying that
the
the exterior is adequate, we don't need additional pointing
Well, you can always work,
Um,
but what's important?
Yeah.
If we're gonna, use that room for a lot of people, I think it has to be cleaned up.
Could you tell me which room you're talking about again?
Yes,
So you only found mold in one room?
Mm-hmm.
here is the building, here are the front steps.
Remember when we moved
Okay.
my old desk?
Yep.
These two walls are buried in earth.
So is that
This is the small
the
room.
east wall?
The boiler room, I'll call it.
Southeast,
Southeast,
This is-
okay.
No, this is northeast.
northeast, my bad.
But that,
This wall.
Okay, but we're mostly talking about using the other side
Yes.
primarily,
The
right?
mold is here.
Oh, okay, so it's all along
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
You
north
can go and
wall.
see it, I mean, it's black.
We
Okay.
we moved my desk, what, this time last year,
Mhm.
me and Nancy moved the desk that was down in the land use office, and that was the surprise we got when we moved the desk.
So the small conference room where the fridge is, that room's actually okay?
Well, it's, I don't believe, I remember him saying that was the moldy room. The other room was the moldy room. But it's not okay from a point of view that it had suffered water damage when the gutter was bad and the earth was bad.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't, it's dry. Now we can repair it and be confident that it's,
So
Well,
the mold,
Yeah, I had a question. Does any of this tie in with the historical report that,
yes. I was with Wendy
okay,
that morning.
so
And she knows
that'll be
where I'm going,
incorporated in,
yeah.
you know, to, for plans.
And
I don't know, she kind of went off on her own, and, that's fine. But I don't know what a historical assessment is.
Well, I don't either, but I was just saying, you know,
So we're gonna
if we're gonna fix this, which seems imperative, we don't wanna cover over mold, we don't wanna do something that will impact the next phase of something, you know what I mean?
That's right, you gotta
Everything
sequence
should
these things
kind
so
of-
we don't do things over.
Yeah, well, or we don't conflict.
Yeah.
Oh, are you calling into question the historical nature of the horsehair plaster? Because
We know we can get the horsehair, they wanna do more plaster.
yeah, I
we
mean,
got tons of
her and I
horsehair
got a
for
good
you.
hookup with horsehair.
You know,
Well-
no joke, they're,
He'll
really wanna be
reproduce.
historical.
He won't reproduce the historical.
No.
Use a stucco technique where you put on like a mesh, and then you put on 2 or 3 layers, a coarse concrete, and then a less coarse thing, and then the skim coat.
so the mold is dry, we're not worried about mold, we just have to take the bad wall and put new wall in,
I think so.
okay.
There's always surprise factor when you take
Right.
something apart and you go, oh.
Is this person just a plasterer? Could we use him as a general contractor to, for instance, take out the counter and do some preliminary work?
I would assume by the name of the business that it's primarily plastering.
Plastering.
Well,
He
he'll,
might be a licensed person.
he does all sheetrock. I'll ask him, I think he'd do almost anything, or know somebody that would team up with him and do it.
Wendy's last report though, that she provided for us, did have like a listing in the back, if I recall.
Of people to contact,
Of people
yes.
to contact.
Yes.
And we
Yeah.
have that, I don't know to what extent and how much beyond or different it would be, but I would also refer back to the initial report she gave us.
There's
They also they were focused on like historical buildings, I think, the people she recommended.
Cause we still need someone to come in and start the project, I guess I'm saying. In terms of getting that counter down and doing some general work.
Well, I think ultimately we're gonna have to have a question is, do we wanna bring in a general contractor who oversees the entire
Direct it all.
project?
Yeah,
Right, who they kind of figure out who these subcontractors are,
okay.
right, or are we GCing this ourselves?
No,
You know,
we need a general contractor.
Well, the last meeting we had, my mission was to go find out how much it was gonna cost.
oh yeah, absolutely,
I
for
think
the
that's-
foundation, yes, so yeah.
But he seemed very competent, and I'll ask him about doing other work. I mean, I could take down the counter. It's a light frame and
We could all get our hours.
I was
Yeah,
thinking we
exactly.
could have a work bee day where
I've even done
some
plastic.
stress, I could take down that
Not
counter in
plastic,
a minute.
I've done the plastic.
Oh, it could be a fundraiser.
Our initial
Are you
house was
stressed?
plaster wall.
You come to the range room,
$5
library
a
range
pop,
room.
$5 a swing.
Library
The
range
first
room.
and only rage room.
Yeah.
Alright, anything else about basement renovation?
Ground
ground
floor.
floor, you mean?
Ground floor.
Yeah.
When he was here, he looked on the outside?
Yes, I showed him the drain
And he was-
pipe and the
yeah.
gravel,
Okay.
but that's, the
Second
outside
eyes, yeah.
could absorb $50,000 worth of pointing,
Yeah,
if you wanted to go around and
point.
point.
But the lesser bid that we put in, that work has been completed. Like, I remember we scaled it back, we just said, just do this part, and,
Yeah.
and they did that satisfactorily.
I think we have some money that's in a category called pointing. And I don't know exactly the definition of that pointing. If it's strict, we're not doing pointing. If it's more liberal, then.
I think we have to figure out if it's CPC or if it's CIPC. I don't have the CIPC stuff that's been submitted like in 2019 or 2020, like I can't find any record of it. But it was for like brick repair, foundation repairs, but it might be, I feel like there's probably more
They have-
flexibility with capital improvement planning committee than there is with CPC. So, CPC is very strict.
Did you ask them for it?
I haven't asked anybody for it yet, no.
Oh.
So, we don't have it in our files, like we don't have it.
Are you guys okay with me cleaning out the basement of the library? Like the conference room is just chock full of stuff that just needs to get thrown away.
Yes.
Are you okay with me cleaning house?
Yes. Unless, there was a desk you wanted to keep, Chris, right?
Oh,
Yes.
we already talked about it, but like
Okay.
the desks that are surplus, army surplus, the school, we pay for the dumpster out by the school.
Mm-hmm.
And my intention is during the summer is to get as much money out of that dumpster as I possibly can, knowing how much they charge me every month for it, so. And I know there's another metal recycling day coming up, so those will be perfect items to be put into the dumpster.
Who does that work?
I was gonna say, you can also reach out
Yeah, please do.
Judy and Bella with regards to the dumpster for metal recycling. We can just open it for putting things in until the next recycling day.
Yeah.
So you don't have to wait until the next recycling day.
Okay, big strong girl.
So there's a table down there.
Yes,
We would wanna
so,
keep that probably, right? Or
if, so the table, so when I think of tables for programming, yes, keep it in the interim until I apply for this grant for D&D with libraries are getting these amazing tables. They're the top lifts out and it is
They are so
literally, and then the top lifts out and they actually become little pieces on the side and the table is open and the kids can throw their dice and I can do models in it and they can, it's an actual playing table, but then the top goes back on like it's a normal table for programming and stuff, so these
Multi-use.
Yeah.
multi-use, multi-purpose, like everything in a small town, it needs to have more than just one function.
But
So.
like that room might still be used for meetings or
Right,
tutoring or
but,
something. That's what I was
that
thinking.
floor has a hole in it, so that table's gotta get moved anyway, so that we can repair the hole in the floor. That we conveniently put a small rug over, so you don't, the mice were coming up and Nancy refused to work in a basement with mice, so I had to find a way to plug the hole while we were over there. She said it was a hostile
Well,
work environment, so
I'm
I
fairly
had to
certain
fix
that
it.
the table is also the town's, correct?
The table is the town's,
Yeah,
and
it's
I
not
already
ours.
spoke
I see.
to the town, and they said we don't want it, so
Yeah.
you can take it. They don't want this table either, so. Yeah,
What action do I take?
I think I kinda would like us to wait until we get the report from
Wendy.
agree.
Wendy, just so we can kinda review it and just kind of get a plan together before we move forward. I just don't wanna start doing things
Step by step.
piecemeal and just like all of a sudden we're kind of, you know, caught.
I would also encourage, just so that we don't violate, but just, I would like to assume that the remaining funds from the library brick repair could be utilized for it, but I just wanna make sure I'm cross T's.
How do we do that?
I can go back and look at the documentation I have and then we can figure out what's been submitted to the town for CIPC. So I can reach out to Nate and just figure that out, so. Like what was submitted, I have no idea what was submitted, like in
I
2019.
thought I submitted a package.
Do you have,
Yeah.
do you have it?
I will look in my
Okay,
vast files.
yeah, if you have it, cause it's not in the drive and it's not in any emails that I have going back.
It's in the possession of the committee. I sat before them and
Okay,
practically read it to them.
Okay, perfect, just if you have it, it'd be great if we can get it into our drive, so we have it for future.
They unilaterally changed it.
Okay.
The only thing I need to remind the trustees of, now I'm wearing executive assistant hat, I was very gently reminded that any contractors you have in the building need to be Cory checked. So if you ever need a Cory, just email the exec assistant and I just brought copies just in case. There was a question and I had the answers thankfully, but I was gently reminded that anytime you hire any contractors to work in the library, they do have to be Cory.
Do they need to be Cory if they're coming in for a quote?
Not for a quote, any work that they're doing in the building, it doesn't matter if they're on the ground floor with a locked door going upstairs, they're still in the building with children, they still need a Cory check, even if the library's closed, it doesn't matter, they just have to be Cory checked, so. And then I was like, well, what if they decide to pull because they don't wanna be Cory checked, and they said basically any contractor worth their salt will not have a guy working on it, that's not gonna pass a Cory check. So,
Good reminder, thank you.
sorry.
That's fine. So, alright, just a quick update, road race, letters are starting to go out to sponsors and to past vendors, so maybe have.
Do the trustees have any problem with me
No.
continuing? So I'll fill out conflict of interest disclosure if you guys are okay with sponsorship.
Yes.
I have 8 signs. Normally I put them up at 62 and 68 across the street from the highway department, and it's along a straight stretch. The rec field, in front of the library, the Tom Bratko's pasture across the street from the pizza place, the Gardner Town line, and in front of the school.
Perfect.
That was last year's scattering.
Okay.
I can repeat that.
Yep, that sounds perfect, great, thank you.
Do we need to check with, nope, cool,
You have 2 of them. You have the school and the library
okay,
signs. I have the other 6.
okay. So do you want the school on like the Elm Street side or on the main?
Yeah,
street?
over near the playground or the driveway.
Okay, I'll check with Tony.
So just so it goes in the minutes, the road race is on Saturday, September 6th.
That is correct, yes.
Oh no, all my signs are wrong.
So, and it's the 28th annual road race, so. So more details will be coming forward. We had our first meeting a couple weeks ago, so we're just setting our stuff. I looked at the calendar, we're good on the calendar, it's a town meeting. So in July, we will talk about changes to the scholarship, application in rubric.
If anybody has additional, I got feedback from Tom, I took notes from our last meeting, April 29th as well.
I think I noticed I had a few notes, so maybe I can forward them to you. Or should I just wait until we read about it?
Either, if you don't mind sending them,
Okay.
and then, yeah.
We have a meeting on June 17th for policies, correct? Tuesday the 17th, I'm pretty sure.
I have that on 7 PM.
Yes, and that will be an online meeting. So Alicia, you're not off the hook yet.
Hey, I was the only one that didn't lose power for the last
Yeah.
one. You could have come to mine.
So, looking at the first floor rehab, I think that's just kind of always.
Can I just say one thing about the calendar? I'm just wondering if we wanna add something about, like things of interest, meetings of interest, like this United for Libraries, which is the part of ALA that has to do with, trustees and friends. They're having an online conference at the end of July, so,
Is that annually?
yeah.
Like it's every year at the same time?
I think so, I don't know, I only know about this year, but anyway, there is a cost you know, but I think like a group of people can sign up. Anyway, I didn't know if we wanted to add things like that, or like, you know, the trustee training or things
Yes.
like that,
I think it's good
maybe
if
make
it,
a column or something for that.
I think so if it happens on a regular annual
see, yeah,
basis, cause this
okay.
is kind of like an annual
Yeah,
calendar.
that's true, okay,
So if they're one-offs, I think that would just kind of clog this up a little bit.
I see.
But if it's annual,
Yeah.
if not, we could start another kind of training calendar or something, make another tab of something
Okay.
different.
I'll find out, but I'll send you information about this. I think it was July 29th was the one day for trustees, but there was another day for friends groups that might, you know, they might be interested.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything about the heat pumps? Or anything?
The
What was the
pole is up,
question?
but they still haven't connected the wires. So it's like, it's there, we're there, just put them together,
Don't touch
but they
it.
haven't.
So the pole was installed, but they haven't.
Yes.
Overnight. Like we came in, we're like, hey, there's a hole there.
Did 4 trucks here,
Yeah.
No kidding.
was that 8 people?
So 2 people doing the work and the rest of them staying here and watching the other ones.
Pointing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Supervised.
Yep. Sounds about right.
Items not reasonably anticipated by the chair. Chris, we have these letters, yes, 2 things. We need everybody to sign letters.
Well, first you gotta decide which date you're meeting.
And then, yes, so our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, July 3rd, which is the day before.
I would love to
Fourth of
change
July.
it if possible.
So do we wanna change it to July 10th? Or do we want to skip the July meeting?
I'm open to July 10th, but July 3rd I would miss.
Yeah,
So,
July
like,
10th sounds okay, aren't we welcoming a new member?
Yes.
Ideally, yes. So,
Can I bring cake? Celebrate my birthday.
I mean,
Your
the
birthday's
election has
July
not yet
10th?
happened,
Yeah.
so
The 7th.
I
I know.
can't say
Because-
that yet.
No, I know
Just
that,
July
but
10th.
But yes.
somebody will be
There
here.
will likely be a new trustee,
Some new
yes.
person. And I think it would be
7th is
not very good if we didn't have anything at all.
Okay, so you guys are thinking does July 10th work for everybody?
Yes.
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 Okay. Then to that end,
We have to vote on that, or we'll just reschedule?
Just schedule it.
just schedule, yeah, that's fine. Then to that end, I need everybody to sign the scholarship letters.
Thank you for being very organized and having multiple drafts.
That was Chris.
I'm
Did
like-
you look at the date?
I did, and I'm
Say,
like,
huh.
July 3rd, really?
I know, when she cut me in. So we need to sign this letter, and then hopefully our candidates will be there. Our recipients will be joining us on July 10th for the meeting, so we can award the scholarships.
The election is the 17th, isn't it?
June 17th.
While they're going around, I think I mentioned once, the trustee pocket guide. You guys have these? These are, put out
It's
by the.
online now.
Well, I hope so, this is
I mean,
2015.
I think I have.
Some things might have changed.
2013, 2018, but, they're pretty good. The content is very good, recommend them.
Great.
Well, that was one of the things I wanted to,
Yes.
comment on too. The website offers the pocket guide online, and they had a little, it was a webinar, wasn't it, Krista? On trustee training,
Yeah,
or why
it
did
was
you-
like trustee 101.
Yeah, and I thought it was well done, and when I looked online, they had all this good information, and I was wondering if the trustees of our library would be interested in putting together a little packet for our new trustee supposedly coming
I
on board.
think that would be lovely.
Yes.
An onboarding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Fun.
something, you know, really kind of brief, and then linking to the MLBC resources, which are very good. And even a link to the video that they did, cause I think we still have access to that, right?
Yeah.
I was
Or
gonna say,
someone was-
having
so.
those pieces of information available on our website, likewise when we have who are we and who are the trustees, and if you're interested, having information to where we can direct potentials in the future too.
We-
That would be useful, like,
like that video is
dissemination
short
of
and it just says, why would you wanna be a library trustee?
Exactly.
It's really pretty good,
Yeah.
That's great.
and it might entice someone, you're right.
I forgot to tell you, but we do have a page in this Google Drive, like for trustees, that already has some links, but we could add more to that. So we need to make sure like everybody can get into that who, you know, like we'll need to you know, add the new person and, you know, so maybe we can kind of include that in the training, like if we want to say, like, here's the page you can go to have, you know, to find all this stuff.
Yeah, I think too, if we're doing a new packet as well, like not just information about the like being a trustee, but I would also probably link to our strategic plan as
Yeah.
well.
I think that would be lovely.
So that, you know, they kind of understand the direction that we're moving in.
And all the things you guys wish you had known.
Yeah.
I'm not
Well,
looking,
I
I'm
don't
not
think
looking, I'm
there's-
not looking.
You know, in hindsight,
This pen,
like, there's not a whole lot, but things like contact information, you
I
know,
know, we don't-
names and numbers.
Yeah.
When I was doing the people who are coming and looking at the work, I needed some cell numbers, and I don't know if that's accessible to us, but it'd be
Yeah, I
nice
think
to
it
have
can-
our own contact information.
A
Yeah.
well, anytime you guys
A
need
directory,
a
yeah.
directory like that, you can call me and Mel. We have access.
See, it's already available, it's
Yeah.
just a matter of putting it in the little.
Putting it in together, and then I would
Yeah.
also link
Yeah.
the conflict of interest,
Right, that's the other
stuff
needs to be
too.
included.
That's why it's more accessible, cause you'll randomly get an email every every other year, but like, so,
I don't think I've ever gotten that.
you will,
you will.
you will.
She told me I would before I was official, but I haven't gotten it yet.
I'll check with her. Things have been a little busy.
Isn't there
Please don't
two?
mind us.
There's a open meeting law, conflict of interest, ethics.
Ethics training, yep. You gotta take a little quiz at the end.
I did that. How did you not do that?
I don't know.
I've had to
She
do it
told me it was a
twice.
little online thing.
You also have to sign in,
Yeah, you have
as
to
a,
create the little login.
take the oath.
Don't worry.
Boy, they did.
Maybe
Just-
next year.
So are we gonna try to have this ready for July, or maybe it could be August?
I'd be willing to work on something.
That'd be great.
I could work with you if you want.
Anything else we need to discuss that I did not anticipate?
You're all invited to the summer reading kickoff party at the library on the 25th. There will be an ice cream truck.
June 25th.
25th.
If you get me that information, I'll put it on the website.
10 a.m. She's coming a little later than 10 a.m. because we're going to do story time. I'm going to go over this year's summer reading program, and then the ice cream truck will show up. It's Maddie's ice cream, so it's actually like hard ice cream with one topping, one scoop, one topping. So, and we had lots of participants last year, so
We
hopefully
did.
we get the same thing this year. We've already got 2 gift cards, so I'm gonna get a couple more.
And the book club is June 23rd.
June 23rd. This time we were reading just a summer book. It was just a summer pick in whatever genre they wanted, and then the July one has already been picked, and the books are now available for pickup. Yes.
I heard the Ogala Sioux book mentioned. Who was reading that?
Senior book club? Agala
That was
Sioux.
the senior.
Ogala Sioux?
The Sioux Indian tribe?
No, Osage.
Osage.
Osage, I'm sorry,
It was
I'm wrong.
yeah, they did that last month.
Oh,
They did the Flowers of the Killer Moon.
yeah,
And
I couldn't remember the real title.
what happened to the Osage
Yeah, I read the
community
book.
in the
It's great.
20s. It was
Amazing.
powerful. Yeah. Now we're going for something a little bit lighter with Anita Shreve.
She wrote something else.
She has quite a number of
I haven't
books.
read this one.
She did Sea Glass
See,
and just drawing a blank on. She wrote something else. Quite a few books. She's not a J.D. Nora Roberts prolific, but she's pretty consistent.
The only thing I would also just mention as a final kind of announcement is that July 1st is the start of the new year, so if anybody's interested in chairing the library trustees, please consider putting your name forward. So,
Does that mean you're
I
not,
don't think I heard
you're not
I
gonna
didn't hear
No.
it either.
continue?
I thought that was just me.
I'll put Morgan's name forward.
It sounded like white noise, I don't know.
Man, I thought I heard back on that.
So, just,
So we will need a new chair.
How did that happen, that it's July, what?
I don't know.
Don't,
Is your term limited?
It's not limited now,
Okay.
so.
No, but we
Okay.
decided a while back
But we decided that it would be a one-year
rotate.
term, and
perpetual.
it's been 3 years, so.
Has it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, it
Yes.
has. Yes.
Thank you, Connie.
Yes,
You've
it
done
has.
such a good job.
So,
And you really have.
so,
Yeah.
so if anyone, would like to step up, I won't stop it.
Oh. I forgot the last thing is, the storybook trail,
Oh, that's right.
it's going out. I'm super excited. They're finishing up the work on Malone Road, so the trail it'll be on will be completely ADA accessible. That includes strollers and young families. And I have to get 20 buckets of concrete out onto the trail, so think of me fondly.
Why don't you just use gravel?
Because nobody knew about that path. I'm just letting you know that we just came to the library one day and it was marked out and I was like, what is happening? But they have they are gonna have extra concrete from this project, and usually Monty Tech will take it back with them, but they're like, no, Trisha needs
This
concrete.
is Monty Tech's path,
Mhm.
and was this initiated from the school? What is the path?
It's great.
The
It comes around the
sidewalk.
side of the building because that whole particular spot,
Muddy.
me included, when it rains, it turns into a mudslide and kids have slipped, fallen,
Yeah.
and me included.
Yeah, I
and
didn't
those
know if
kids
it was
slipped and fallen
initiated.
and boop, right on their bottom. And so Travis worked with Monty Tech to have the 48 Gardner Road ADA accessibility done, and then this as well, so,
Well, thank you guys.
thank you, Travis.
Thank you, Travis.
Cause I
Shout out.
came out and I was like, what is happening, and then
That's what I was doing yesterday too, I came and I was like, huh?
what is happening? So, but they'll have all this extra concrete, so, they're gonna fill my buckets for me. That was like the last step, was the concrete, cause I didn't wanna buy 12 bags of Quikrete.
And where's the concrete going in the path?
So it's going in a metal
Signpost?
bucket, I'm making basically a signpost, so it can, I made it so that it can move. My hope is to apply for one of the Mass Cultural Grants for schools and programs, so that I can get the ones that actually physically go into the ground that have little locking cases. They're really
They're
expensive.
really nice.
They're really nice, but they do come with a hefty price tag. And I didn't wanna put something out on a conservation trail because it doesn't belong to us. It belongs to open space, so, with their blessing. So we're gonna see how it goes, and if this works out well, then yes, we can talk about something more permanent down the line, but.
When it is official, I would very much love to see promotion of that.
There will be
And
lots
sharing.
of promotion,
love to share that.
and I'm going to do not a field trip story time, but I would love to do a story time out there on the trail and have the kids walk through it as Miss Trisha reads the story down the line, so.
If anybody's really good at doing that whole, I'm not, but the whole videos and then like the fast forward of it, so that they see it.
I was gonna ask Brittany, who does all of our meetings, and hi Bridget, to see if we could do a short video about it out on the trail and stuff. And then I wanna share it with the author who so generously donated her book so that we had a
I
book for
would
the
love
trail.
that. I love that.
So,
I can't count the number of trails that I like hunted down throughout New England for my kids when they were little.
they were popular for a while, and then I feel like it wasn't a thing, and then there was this spark of go outdoors again, kind of promotional, get outside, go outdoors. I think especially with like the national parks and state parks, again with the federal temperature, they were like, nope, we need to save as much as we possibly can, let's get kids outside. And so this is my,
Yeah. I think even last year there was one at Purgatory and the book was like, I mean, they're picture books, but still my kids would stop and read. So,
That's awesome.
so yeah.
Alright, it's 8:35, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Have a second.
No, they all want to stay
No,
here.
no one ever wants to stay. All in favor? Okay, 8:36, our meeting is adjourned.